Welcome back to Meet the Authors. I'm your host, Phil Levin, and we're having here today Bryant Lavender. Bryant, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're a young man full of energy and inspiration. I love that. And you're here to talk about your book, Driven. Pull up your book and show it on your camera. Show it to the audience here.
Driven.
Driven. That's great. The book, Driven. Tell us about your book.
My book talks about me being an athlete and a Christian at the same time, and what I went through to continue to hold up my faith, and what the coaches told me that were true and what were lies, and how I had to fight through all of that and to step into my purpose and what God called me to do.
So the culture told you some truths and some lies.
Yes,
We're talking about the football culture?
Yeah, football coaches. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So some of the football culture, how is that contrary to what you believe? Was like asking you to cheat or to hurt?
No, it wasn't like that. It was more of unknowns. Basically, sometimes you hear what's understood needs to be explained, and so sometimes when you get that opportunity to do the right thing, or sometimes as being an athlete and being a good athlete, sometimes you can get somebody to do your work for you, or you can sometimes you do stuff and your coach say this is what's gonna happen. And you get to the point where it's supposed to happen, or that act that they said that they were going to do and they didn't do what they said they were going to do.
Give me an example. It seems pretty vague.
Okay, so basically, I remember going to University of South Alabama. That's where I went to school.
And you were a running back?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
And they said that we were going to move into the apartments. It was called the Grove Apartments. And
they're going to move all the athletes in there. So they
didn't say all the athletes. They said the football team.
Football team was going to get special sat in the apartments.
Yeah, and so when we got there, we were in Delta, which is the normal dorms, that was kind of something like, we was like, what you said on our visit that this was going to happen. So, but as you get into the politics of football and the things that happen, you kind of get used to that, and so you become numb to certain things until you get numb, because it's hard to deal with. It's hard to deal with at times, especially when it comes to playing time. When your coach said, when you come, you commit, you'll get this number, and you'll play. You're coming in, and a lot of times as athletes, we feel like we the best thing smoking. It doesn't matter where we at. When we get from when we leave our high school and we go to college, we thinking I'm finna play. And mentally, I know I did, because I had that much confidence in me. And
one needs to have confidence, absolutely.
Exactly. So that's
what you do.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I felt like. I was like, I'm gonna play. And when I got there, they sent us a CD of all the recruits that were committed with us. And so I seen them boys on the film. I was like, oh man. I talked to myself. I said, Lord, you got to help me with this, because it was they were really good. And so then which is to be expected. They say when you're good and you get with people that are also good, then the better people will rise.
Absolutely. So this inspires you. Absolutely. I remember when I was going to medical school. Before I went to medical school, I never had to study. I was always smart at the top of my class. I did my stuff. And then you start getting the smarter and smarter people. It's like, whoa, you better crack them books.
Exactly. That's
So
true.
tell us about this book in particular.
Okay, this book in particular, it actually it goes from when I was in 7th grade when my dad was murdered.
And your father was murdered.
Yeah.
And you were 13.
13, and I'm the middle of 3 boys.
Oh my, that must have been very hard.
It was. It changed my perspective on life, and that was actually when I gave my life to Christ when I was 13, because my Sunday school teacher was talking about agape love. And so when I didn't understand, when he explained it was unconditional love that God has for us, and I made a promise to God. I said, God, if you can show me what agape love is, then I will always hold on to you. And then from that moment on, he dropped teachers, coaches, just a whole bunch of people in my life to help not only me but my family as well. And
I love it when God does that. When He says,
I'm going
to show you the way. You ask for God's help,
yes,
and these things just happen to you. And in a way, that's a really lovely story.
Right.
And let me borrow your book just a moment, because what I thought was interesting when I was looking through this book earlier is that each chapter is got a title about what's going on through fighting, breakthrough, and then you have questions in each chapter that gets people to think about their own lives.
Right.
With a little football helmet, so to speak.
Yeah.
And would you read a little bit from it?
Yes, I will. So let me set the tone. This is my freshman year, like the end of my fall freshman year of college, and I came back in to see my coach, who actually took me to get my scholarship at South Alabama. In the book, his name is Coach McNeil.
This is a true story.
True story. Everybody in here are real people. I just changed the names.
Okay.
So I'm in this office. At this time he's the athletic director at my high school. I went to Gulfport High, and so
My son graduated in Gulfport High.
Okay, sweet. And so I come into his office and he says, Bryant, how are you? I said, I'm good, coach. And he said, how you doing over there? I'm doing great. Are you working hard in the weight room and in practice and on the field? Yes, sir. I said, other than hating to be on the scout team, I'm putting forth every effort to be the player that I know I can be. Do you know something that I do not? Because the way he asked me, I was kind of like, what are you talking about, you know? And he said, well, I called Chavo one day and asked him how you were doing over there. He started chuckling a bit, shook his head and said, I can't stand that guy. He's always walked around like his stuff done stink. I said, Coach, I interjected, what did he say? He told me he looked around and he told me that you weren't the athlete they thought they signed. My heart sank. Coach Cole continued, he said, that they don't think that I know a playmaker when I see one? What? That disrespected me. I kept my composure and I said, oh, really? That's what he said, huh? I giggled a little bit. He said, Bryant, do you know that's a slap in my face? So basically, he was calling to check up on me. And the coach that took over my recruiting process, because the coach that started, he left and went to Mississippi State. You know, they thought, you know, I did really well in my camp, and so he called to check up on me, and he said that I wasn't the athlete they thought they signed.
Not as good as they had hoped.
Not as good as they had hoped.
So they were talking about taking away your scholarship?
Yes, because most people don't understand, like when you're an athlete and you get a scholarship, people think when you sign your scholarship or your letter of intent that it's a 4-year scholarship. No, ma'am, no, sir. It is a 1-year contract, and if you don't do good, they will cut you.
Oh, no.
They will cut you. So that actually kind of had me a little nervous because my exit meeting was all good. I had got bigger, faster, and stronger, and I had, produced. And so now I was in this dilemma because I was like, that's not what they told me when I left, And so that kind of changed my way of thinking. And so from that point on, I went home and I prayed and I was like, God, I need some help. I need you to help me. I need to understand. You told me to come here. I prayed and asked if it was okay for me to come here, and you gave me the green light. So I need you to help me out. And so God told me, he said, go to work, do what you got to do, keep being good. And so I said, all right. So I continued to do my work. And so I left. When I left that freshman year, I actually was about to transfer, but because I prayed and God told me to stay, I stayed. And so I went from the athlete they thought they didn't sign, or not good enough, to being the face of the program by the time that I left. I was on
the program. I like that.
Yes, sir.
And there's such a good message in that. I love books with these messages with a sense like, you're almost going to fail, but you put your heart into it and you achieve, and you have a great message at the end.
Yes, sir.
So the book's called The Driven, huh?
Driven, fight for what they said you couldn't have.
And then so you played in Alabama all 4 years.
South Alabama.
South Alabama.
Yes, sir. I was a part of the team, the very first team that they ever had. So before my class, there was no football team.
Okay.
So we got a guaranteed 5 years at, the NCAA gave us a guaranteed 5 years to play.
Okay, well that was good. And then you went to, after that you played professional football, arena football?
Yes, sir. I got called into camp for the Tampa Bay Storm. Then I was on the practice squad for a year. Then I left there. I stayed in Tampa, but I signed to the AIF, Central Florida Jaguars, and I played there. Did really well, did really good. And then this past year in 2018, I signed with the Triangle Torch in Raleigh, North Carolina.
The who? In
Triangle Torch.
Is that an arena football too?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's in the AAL. Yes, sir.
So this is good. And where can people get your book?
They can get my book on my website, www.bryantlavender.com. Also, it is available on Amazon. You can type in my name, Bryant Lavender, on Amazon, or you can type in Driven, Fight for What They Said You Couldn't Have, and it'll pop right up.
No, show the title again. One more time, Driven. What's the title is? Driven, Fight for What They Said You Couldn't Have.
Yes,
And
sir.
by golly, you'll achieve what you need to achieve.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's really exciting. You've written a couple poetry books, so you really have a
Yes, sir.
verse things there.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad you come on the show and be inspirational to people. And
Thank you.
Bryant Lavender, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. So just again, it goes to show if you're really determined to get what you want and you listen to God's plan, you'll become the things you want to do.